Welcome back to Light the Fuse, the only Mission Impossible podcast that has created a new month. Threepril. Yeah, we're in the middle of it.
We are.
This is Charles Hood wants to join in.
What?
I'm
Charles
Hood.
Yeah, that's me. Who are you? You're Drew.
I'm Drew. Yeah,
you're Drew Taylor.
Yeah, and we're just getting into Threepril.
It's our best intro yet.
Listen,
and thank you to Kevin Blumenfeld for our legally dissimilar music score.
Beautiful.
Really great.
Yeah.
And we're going to just hop right into more making of MI3.
Making of MI3. Before you do anything, go to the Patreon, throw us a couple of bucks. You know, throw us some change, you know.
That's www.patreon.com/LightTheFuse.
Okay, now we've gotten that out of the way, we're diving back in to the making of Mission Impossible 3. So we're in the promotion side of things now.
Yeah.
And this is from The Hollywood Reporter on February 6, 2006. Paramount took advantage of the Super Bowl's massive viewership to kick off The Ultimate Mission, an online scavenger hunt promoting MI3. The interactive contest involved clues hidden in specially created original shorts available for viewing on various websites. The TV spot that aired held the clue to solve the first question in the competition, which begins today and plays out over the next 3 months. During the hunt, participants posing as IMF agents must employ their web search and detective skills to find hidden badges that will reveal new code words containing clues to the film's key story elements.
That sounds complicated.
Yeah, it sounds very JJ to me.
It is. That was a thing at that time, though.
Yeah, that kind of augmented
around
reality.
That time was like Dark Knight. I think had a thing where you had to go around town in order to see the trailer. You had to follow clues. And if anybody out there did this and did the clues and they have any memories of it, let us know.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear all about it.
I'd also just like to say, if Paramount wants to do this for the next couple, this could keep us busy for a few episodes.
We would love
bring
that.
it back. Yeah.
On April 29th, 2006, the LA Times says that their readers found a scary MI3 promo when they went to vending machines to buy a paper. There was a contraption with loose wires, which was a song box designed to play the Mission Impossible theme when you opened the news rack. Los Angeles sheriffs blew up one of the machines, thinking it was a possible bomb. Devices were placed in 4,500 randomly selected news boxes in Los Angeles and Ventura counties in a venture with Paramount Pictures designed to turn the, quote, everyday news rack experience into an extraordinary mission.
Wow.
And then in the aftermath of this, Paramount and the LA Times were actually sued over this by the government and made a settlement with them.
Wow. And whoever came up with this idea, I'm sure, no longer works at Paramount. The everyday news rack experience. God.
So, hey, if anybody had an experience they want to tell us about where they went to go get a newspaper and they saw what they thought was a bomb in there, but it was just the MI3 promo, let us know.
On April 11th, 2006, Paramount released a 10th anniversary DVD of the first Mission Impossible that came with a free ticket to see MI3. Did any of you out there engage in this deal? I think I was probably working at the video store and probably had a few of those tickets.
It's a video store back in Connecticut?
Yeah.
The tagline for this movie was, "The mission begins May 5th, 2006. And the May 5th, 2006 was written out as 05:05:06. And this movie kind of had the colon crazies because the title on the poster was M:I:'III.
Right.
So it's just like colons all over the place.
Yeah, I think it's like trying to be like a time stamp or like going back to the bomb thing. Like
right.
you're counting down. Yeah.
Okay.
But also the mission begins. It's the third movie.
Yeah, I don't know what this series doesn't have the best taglines.
No. But I mean that, and I think after this with the subtitles, it's a dash, right? It's like
it's always. I think even MI2 did it. It was M:I:2.
Right.
But this poster, for whatever reason, was colon crazy.
Well, we're obsessed with the premieres, and this one had 5 premieres, all of which Tom Cruise was in attendance for all of them. Mm-hmm. Okay, in Rome, Paris, London, Mexico City, and New York City. The world premiere was in Rome on April 24th. There was a gala in the central Piazza del Popolo, where Cruise was interviewed by 35 international TV outlets and signed autographs for more than 2 hours, followed by a photo of the entire cast at Rome's Cinema Adriano. This has also started the precedent that they kind of like do the premiere at a place that's very important to the plot, because I think they had the premiere at the Venice Opera House for Rogue Nation. Where did they have
was it Vienna?
Was that Vienna? Wherever the opera was. And I think the last one was in Paris. So they kind of like go to one of the cities that the movie is taken place in. And they do the junket there too.
On May 3rd, 2006, Tom Cruise traveled through Manhattan by motorcycle, speedboat, taxi, helicopter, sports car, and subway for the U.S. premiere of MI3 at the Tribeca Film Festival. The promotional activity was called Mission NYC and started in Times Square. Cruise appeared at screenings in Tribeca and Harlem before reaching the premiere at Midtown Ziegfeld Theater. Then in Variety on June 5th, 2006, they talk about a promotional event in Japan that will whisk 150 fans from Tokyo to Osaka via bullet train with Tom Cruise on board. Cruise will schmooze and have his picture taken with every fan, who will then attend an MI3 screening and spend the night in a hotel at UIP's expense. The tab for the stunt is nearly $270,000. And I saw a picture of the scene inside this bullet train. It was pure madness. It looked like mostly Japanese women in IMF t-shirts mobbing Tom Cruise. And then I saw a little footage of it in the iTunes special features. Carrie Russell was on the train as well.
But just completely ignored.
No, she was signing autographs and stuff. But it was, jam-packed on a bullet train with Tom Cruise. He actually did this. The promotional events for this movie are crazy.
Yeah, this is
traveling through New York City by all these modes of transportation.
It was an aggressive promotional campaign.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah.
And how did the t-shirts look, by the way?
The IMF t-shirts?
Yeah, the ones.
They almost. I think they were like
handmade.
I think they were like the logo, like the circular IMF logo. They were pretty good.
I'm pretty into that. So, upon the release of the films, we've got some good quotes because obviously the promotional blitz for this was pretty intense, so they were doing a lot of press.
Yes, in the Boston Globe on May 5th, 2006, J.J. Abrams says of Cruise, he was so collaborative and so supportive. From the beginning, he said, I want this to be your movie. I'm your actor. You're the director. And he really let that happen. I'm sure that everyone was looking at me like, okay, TV boy. But Tom established this sense of respect and a trust immediately.
So this is from the production notes, and JJ says, before we started shooting, Cameron Crowe mentioned to me that Tom was so focused, professional, and hardworking. He was going to spoil me for the rest of my life. Everything he said is absolutely true. And of course, Crowe had just directed Cruise in Vanilla Sky, and before that, Jerry Maguire. And eventually, Cameron Crowe and JJ did a very short-lived television series together called Roadies for Showtime.
Oh, I didn't know JJ was on that too.
Yeah, he produced that.
Huh. In an interview with IGN, JJ talks about the rest of the cast. He says, what I loved about Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is he sort of felt to me in many ways the Irish version of where Tom was in the first Mission movie, which is a little bit more of a cocky guy who is at an age when he was not doing this for very long. With Maggie Q, I really wanted to have an incredibly strong female and powerful voice and character, and someone who was as lethal as she is brave, and Maggie brought all that. I also knew we had Ving Rhames coming back, who I had loved in so much of the work he had done in other films. I felt like he still had not been as relatable as I wanted him to be in the first two films, and I just think he brought an incredible personality to the role of Luther. So it was just important that Tom's character be surrounded by distinct and unique and compelling other characters.
Many of whom we would never see or be mentioned again in the franchise.
We want Maggie Q back.
We want her back.
That would be great if Maggie Q and Paul Patton come back. We talk about it all the time.
Ving Rhames told USA Today that J.J. Abrams reminds him of Quentin Tarantino. He said, they have a youthful energy that you can't fake. They get visibly excited like kids with toys. Of course, Quentin had about $8 million in toys. J.J. has a lot more than that, but he seemed calm through the whole thing.
Again, from the production notes, Philip Seymour Hoffman says about his own character, he's not just a villain, he's a psychopath. He creates incredible empathy for Ethan. The darker, more evil, more vicious this man is toward the hero, the more you want the hero to take this man down. And
another great Hoffman quote is that, I've never done an action film before, and it's something I've always wanted to do. I've known JJ casually for many years, and I worked with Tom before on Magnolia. When I read the script, I was impressed with the three ingredients, Tom, JJ, and the screenplay combined. I thought that the time was right to do this kind of project with these people and this script. And this was right after he won the Oscar, too.
Right,
this was his follow-up for Capote, yeah.
Maggie Q says in the production notes, I've worked with Jackie Chan, and watching Jackie, you know he grew up in a kung fu school. He was in the circus. He had a tough upbringing, and he's a tough guy. There's no doubt he can handle it. When I see Tom do the same things, that I think is amazing. Tom earns a lot of respect from the action director and the stunt people who know just how difficult everything is. Tom has an undying energy, when he's acting, of course, but really all the time.
Which is something we've heard from stunt people before. It's like,
yeah.
He does everything. So there's a quote from Lawrence Fishburne who says, when I was a kid, this was the show we ran home to watch. We'd play Impossible Mission Force and pretend to be secret agents, play with the gadgets, sing the cool music, all of it. Now I'm the boss, the guy above Mr. Phelps. I'm the guy who sends the envelopes. Who could pass that up?
Aw.
That's great.
I love
so
that.
he had all the merchandise.
Yeah. In his interview with MovieWeb at WonderCon, JJ says, "No question for me that one of the most fun aspects of the TV show as a kid, always loving it, was this team. I just love the idea of this group working together for a very specific goal, and I think we brought that back passionately."
Do you agree with that?
I don't know. Do you think? I mean, there's more of a team dynamic definitely than in 2.
Yes.
2 has the least team dynamic.
Yes, I agree.
When I rewatched 2, though, there is that one, the horse track sequence kind of has some team stuff. Mm-hmm. It's kind of fun.
You love Billy Bard, is that his name?
Billy Baird? Yeah. He was the helicopter pilot.
Yeah, who could forget? So, kind of feeding into the criticism that Mission Impossible 3 was like an episode of Alias, JJ told IGN, "There were so many things that we wanted to do on Alias that we could never in a million years afford. And one of the things we did in this movie was the Vatican break-in sequence, which was a sequence that required so many pieces. It is a very visually intricately told sequence. And in television, you never have the time to do those kind of pieces that you need to really tell it properly. Clearly, sequences like on the bridge, the helicopter chase, the whole factory sequence, the Shanghai jump, each one of them, in a weird way, was a dream version of the kind of thing we might conceive of doing on Alias, but have neither the time nor budget to properly execute." Which is true. I mean, those are some of the best set pieces in the movie.
It's funny, though, that he's basically acknowledging that he was just doing Alias
at
a bigger budget.
Yeah.
In the production notes, Paula Wagner says, "What sets MI3 apart from the first 2 is that we also show more interpersonal relationships within the IMF. Ethan Hunt and Luther Stickle have been working together now for a number of years. They have a relationship that is based on a solid friendship that is explored in this movie. Tom and Ving as actors and JJ as a director handle that relationship, all with a wonderful irony, humor, and finesse."
So J.J. Abrams in Playboy, adult, said in May 2006, "There's no question this is a different tone than its predecessors. It's a lot funnier, scarier, and more emotional than you would expect." Not sure I agree with that, but it's an interesting take to have on the movie.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it depends on how you define some of these things. I mean, the MI2 is very emotional.
Yeah, that's
true. There are people screaming in agony, and I mean, there's it's very operatic in its emotion. This one has the emotion of his relationship and jeopardy. So,
different levels. Yeah.
So here's JJ talking to MovieWeb again. "I just knew immediately that the opportunity to take a franchise that didn't really have a defining episode yet, meaning the episodes were incredibly well done, and for some people, the first one was one of their favorite spy movies, or the second one was one of their favorite spy movies. For me, it felt like it was a series that, as good as those movies were, never really realized the promise of the franchise. And to be asked to do a franchise where you could actually make the best version of that series, it was immediately like, oh my." So he's talking a little shade there. The first 2, I don't know.
Yeah, I would not.
JJ. All right.
I would not be one to throw stones at De Palma or Wu, but the other thing is
he's being gentle about it.
No, and the other thing is, like, I don't think. I mean, obviously they wanted to do sequels, but I don't think De Palma set out to make the first film of a franchise. He made it a great movie that was great in and of itself. So, anyway, this is JJ talking to Indie London. "Well, I was aware that in the first 2 films, which were directed by Brian De Palma and John Woo, their fingerprints were so clear. I have no idea what my style is at all, or even if I have one. I'm probably bereft of style, but I do know that when I looked at these sequences, I wanted them to feel real and grounded."
So now he sounds humble again.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he has a style. I mean, we talk about the lens flares, very active camera.
He's, at this point, sort of doing the Tony Scott thing, very long lenses with the camera moving a lot, and yeah, he's got a style for sure. But it's funny how in one interview it sounds like he's kind of knocking the first 2 movies, and then he's being more humble. Here's JJ in his IGN interview. "I actually felt that the first 2 films for me would have been even better had they spent some time investing in the characters and the people. In a movie like Jaws, when Roy Scheider is sitting at the table and his kid's mimicking him and his wife is watching, you could have lost that scene from that movie and told the same story, but it would not have allowed you to invest in the people as much as you do. And that is my favorite thing that the great blockbuster-type movies have done, which is they have the thrills and the action, but the critical thing is investment in character." It's a great point, and it's a wonderful scene in Jaws. Would you say he accomplished a comparable scene that made you care about these characters?
No. Would you?
No. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Yeah, I mean, I have thoughts on when I was watching the commentary of MI3 of what to me doesn't work about that relationship, and maybe I'll save it until we do our commentary on the Patreon and we talk about what works in that
Right.
movie and what doesn't. And to me, no, I don't think he found that. But
No.
but I think it's a great insight. It's
It
true.
is.
It's a really good point, and that's what is a wonderful scene in Jaws, and it does make you care about these characters.
And Spielberg
it
is
makes them
obvious-
more human.
Yeah, and Spielberg is his sort of mentor as well.
Yes.
So yeah. So according to the Hollywood Reporter on May 10th, 2006, there was going to be a limited edition MI3 Casio G-Shock watch that was similar to the one that Tom Cruise wears in the film, but Casio said they failed to obtain a signed contract from Paramount in time to deliver the watches to retail outlets. But I think you can still buy a pretty similar watch to the one that he wears in the movie.
But you can't get this limited edition one. I think they ended up getting it out internationally. I don't know. It's kind of a weird article.
We're gonna need to find one, clearly.
They were gonna do this promotion and then they couldn't get anybody signed off on it, and then it didn't happen in time. And we're starved for Mission Impossible merchandise, so we're heartbroken that it never happened. There was also in the works at one point a Six Flags stunt show.
What?
There's concept art calling it the Mission Impossible Stunt Show Spectacular. Supposedly, the concept would have seen the theaters and the parks enclosed in temporary canvas tent structures to allow for lighting control, and would have immersed the audience in the most special effects intensive stunt show ever created. They even had crazy plans for the marketing. The new attraction would have been advertised by self-destructing billboards, each with a digital clock counting down, that would, quote, self-destruct, revealing a new message saying that the stunt show had now opened.
Wow.
So you would have driven past the billboard and it would have had a countdown clock to the point when the stunt show opened. I mean, I want a stunt show.
Yeah.
I mean, now that Paramount's doing their park, that's going to open in South Korea, we're going to have to go.
We already have our flight booked.
And
yeah.
hopefully they'll open one stateside.
Oh, they have to do it. They have to do one, at least in the Korean park for sure. But as a Magic Mountain annual pass holder, I probably would have made, forced whoever I was going to the park with to have watched that show every time you go, because that just sounds amazing.
We need that.
We
can
do.
We please have it.
I can't believe it hasn't been done yet. So now we're getting into the release of the movie. The time has come. Variety reports on April 27th, 2006, that Paramount is going digital for the first time with MI3. When the movie launches in more than 3,500 theaters, the film will be distributed digitally to at least 135. That is hilarious. Paramount has never before played one of its movies on a digital screen. Among the majors, Paramount at this point was the lone holdout on digital projection. And they shot the movie in 35. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about how different it was in 2006, that only 135 of the theaters were doing digital at that point of the 3,500. And yeah, it's just...
Because I think Revenge of the Sith was like one of the first big digital releases. But apparently there were only 135 screens.
Yeah. And Paramount was holding out. They were still trying to hold on to film.
They were holding out on Blu-ray. They were holding out on DVD.
Yeah.
And they were holding out on...
There's an LA Times article on May 8th, 2006, saying the opening weekend for MI3 was disappointing. It was only $48 million when some independent trackers had predicted it would top $70 million. They list the budget as $165 million, which is 15 more than reported elsewhere. It was a wide release in 4,054 theaters in the U.S. and Canada. A survey by online ticket seller Fandango said women rated the movie more highly than men.
Interesting. So the box office wasn't terrible, but it was not what they were hoping, especially considering this insane marketing blitz. Opening weekend, it made $10 million less than MI2, which is not great, especially considering inflation and ticket prices and whatnot. In the end, it made $134 million domestic and $263 million internationally, making its worldwide haul of almost $400 million. Not bad, but to this day, the lowest in the series worldwide.
So then there were articles written about if this is the end for Tom Cruise. Have audiences grown tired of him? And in fairness, there were some articles written in defense of him too, saying the criticism was unwarranted. But it's kind of interesting now that we're 13 years later and this franchise is going strong.
Yeah.
People were wondering if this is the end for Tom. Other box office thoughts, the Mission Impossible series was kind of ahead of the game in terms of finding international appeal. It had a $118 million worldwide opening weekend.
Oh, wow.
And nowadays, all the big blockbusters, they count on the international as the biggest chunk, but back then that was not the case.
And how many...
For all the other franchises except for Mission Impossible.
Right. And this was before there were clumsily inserted scenes in China for that market. This actually felt organic, and it was also very ahead of its time.
Yeah.
So the critical reaction to the film, we're going to do a whole episode on critic response to these things, but it was, it was mostly positive, but not ecstatic. It's kind of in the same area as the first two movies. If you're into any of this kind of stuff, I'll tell you the critics who liked it were David Anson, Joe Morgenstern, your father's favorite, Richard Roper, Richard Corliss, Kenneth Turan, Scott Foundas, Owen Gleiberman. Critics who were not super happy about it: Roger Ebert, Andrew Saris, Rex Reed, David Edelstein, Anthony Lane, and Manohla Dargis. So,
right,
pretty split down the middle in terms of the big guns
of
the critics. But
Greg Braxton of the LA Times wrote an article called "Chicken or the Egg" about how much MI3 lifts from Alias. It lists all the ways in pretty convincing fashion. Tied up in the opening scene, that whole opening scene thing, the being tied up, and then it goes to flashbacks. Mm-hmm. That's apparently in
it's
both,
very much, yeah.
And then both Ethan and Sydney are engaged to healthcare professionals who don't know they're spies. They both meet their operations handlers at a convenience store. The adrenaline shot to the heart to save a barely conscious fellow agent. Apparently it was in Alias at some point as well. And on and on. This is articles still online, actually. It's from May 12th, 2006, and it's a pretty interesting read.
Do you know how many articles there would be today? If the movie came out today? There would be so many. So it was announced in The Hollywood Reporter on August 11th, 2006, that Paramount will release MI3 on DVD, HD DVD, and Blu-ray on October 30th. Now, if you have forgotten about this, the HD DVD Blu-ray war was raging at this point. You had to choose a side. There were some game systems that had HD, I think, and didn't have Blu-ray, so this is the whole thing.
I think the Xbox was with HD DVD.
Yeah.
And PlayStation was with Blu-ray.
And you know what they say? What was going to swing the difference was what porn came out on, because apparently the decision that porn made to go to VHS is what killed beta tapes.
Right.
So anyway,
I don't think that it turned out to be true for Blu-ray.
I don't think so either. I think
that
they
was
went
speculation.
HD. Yeah.
They were like, "What's porn gonna do?"
Yeah. So it's the first movie ever to be released simultaneously on DVD as well as on both formats of HD, because there were the studios were picking sides as well. At this point, only Paramount and Warner Brothers had announced support for both formats. The HD DVD release features an enhanced commentary that shows J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise talking in a corner of the screen while the movie is playing. They supposedly even stop the picture frequently to explain particular shots in detail.
We want this so badly.
God.
If this is a special feature out there, put it on a Blu-ray release.
Yeah.
Does anybody have an HD DVD player and this disc? We'll buy the disc if you have the player.
Do you think that
we'll track it down. We need to watch this.
You think it's different than the one that you listened to?
Yeah, they said that they stopped the picture to explain shots. It's a video of them. This is amazing.
What do you think the setting is? You think it's just a couple of director's chairs?
Yeah, I don't know. I remember there was a Ghostbusters commentary at one point that had them at the bottom.
I think Zack Snyder did it.
It's almost like Mystery Science Theater 3000 style, where there are little silhouettes at the bottom. But anyway, so now there's some random thoughts here. Just wanted to throw in here. The Countdown Begins is a featurette in the iTunes Special Features that has Tom talk about the knife in the eye moment in MI2 that we love, and the Langley hanging sequence in the first movie. This features behind-the-scenes footage that we'd never seen before. You get to see Brian De Palma sighing in frustration while they're trying to get Cruise to balance out when he's falling to the ground.
Right.
And it's just, I'd never seen this footage before. I think I sent you a video of it because it was so cool looking. But it's called The Countdown Begins. It's on the iTunes Special Features. Worth watching to see some of that stuff. They
were really into that whole the something begins naming convention too.
Scuba Luther is another thing to bring up. Okay. Of course, this is the birth of Scuba Luther. Which we love the idea of Luther being the scuba expert. And that started with his work down while they were breaking into the Vatican. So got to give MI3 props for Scuba Luther.
Yeah, he looks great in a scuba suit.
Yeah. So another personal note, just from revisiting all these movies, I just wanted to say that Tom Cruise's hair looks pretty good in this movie.
Yeah.
I think this is an underrated hair entry.
It's very kind of like matter of fact. I love the Fallout look, but it's a little manicured. You can tell he went to a stylist. This is very, this is a guy on a job.
Yeah. I feel it actually is kind of interesting because I think the Fallout MI3 comparison is real. They're kind of sister cuts.
Right. So we just want to give out the sources for
Yes.
this. Yahoo article from 2015 called 50 Impossibly Awesome Facts. Special features on the iTunes, DVD, Blu-ray. Charles listened to all these things. A commentary by J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise. Collider article, The Crazy Development History of Mission Impossible 3 by our good friend Adam Chitwood. All the articles from the trades and publications. And then you went to a library and read some stuff too, right?
Yeah, so all those trades and everything they're kept on file at the Margaret Herrick Library in L.A., which I found out while I was there. This is where I do a lot of the research. That I found out that Tom Cruise is a sponsor of this library. This is like every time I walk in, there's a wall of all the sponsors on the wall, a bunch of names. And I've walked past it the last time I was there. I was like, oh my God, look, there's Tom Cruise.
Wow, so he's kind of guiding this.
He's helping us through this.
Yeah.
And also a big thank you to Melissa from San Jose for emailing us some interviews with J.J. Abrams. We used a bunch of those quotes. So thank you, Melissa, for helping us out there.
Yeah, but if you think that Threep Roll was over.
Oh, no. Threep Roll is not over. Next week, we talk with a camera assistant who worked on MI3, and he has some great stories about the making of MI3, some really fun behind-the-scenes things about Tom Cruise and his process. And
Things we'd never heard before.
Yeah, it's really great stuff about the making of MI3. It's a really fun episode you'll love next week.
Yeah, so be sure to rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening. And, if you want to throw us a few bucks on Patreon, we would be incredibly thankful.
Yes, yeah, we're for this Patreon next month, we're hoping to do our first commentary. So if you sign up now for May, then you will get, ideally, if we have time to do this, which I think we will.
Yeah.
We're hoping to do the commentary for the first Mission Impossible movie that Brian De Palma directed. And it'd be the two of us doing our audio.
It would be great if Brian De Palma was there.
No, yes, no, but it's not. It's just you and me.
No.
We'll be talking about the movie. If that interests you at all, that's something. And also our other bonus content that we'll have, extra minutes of interviews in the future, and other little surprises and things that we're going to have. And that's at one of the tiers. There are multiple tiers on Patreon. So, even if you just want to do $1 a month, that would be awesome. If this podcast is worth $0.25 an episode to you, then give us $1 a month, and we'd love that. And we'll give you a thank you on the website. Otherwise, if you want bonus content, it's $5.95 a month, and then there are other tiers above that as well. So just check it out at www.patreon.com/LightTheFuse. And also, we've got T-shirts. We've got our first design.
Yeah, it's a good design too.
Yeah.
I think
Your lovely fiance, Katie, did this design, and I already got a shirt.
Yeah, you're wearing it right now.
It says Ethan and Luther and Benji and Ilsa.
And let us know if we should have included Brant, because I was saying we should have. So
we already got scolded on Twitter.
Help end this debate. I know.
For this. So we're gonna have other designs coming soon. We're gonna have Light the Fuse logo. We're gonna have other fun things.
Yeah.
But you can go to our website and go to the merchandise section on LightTheFusePodcast.com, and you'll find the shirt there, and it also, the design can go on mugs and
phone cases,
laptop cases, tote bags, all kinds of things.
Oh my God.
And we're gonna have other stuff soon, so stay tuned for that. Also, just going back to our Patreon, just want to thank our sponsor, Thomas Jeffroy. So thank you very much, Thomas.
Keeping food on the table. Thomas, thank you so much.
And then also we want to tease that we spoke to an Oscar winner that you'll hear that interview in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Don't want to say who that is yet, but we will just let you know that is going to be a fun interview you'll find in May.
Is he more or less humble than Robert Elswit? Let's find out. Our other Oscar winner we've had on the show.
Yeah, we've had multiple.
Oh, yeah. Brad Bird,
Christopher McQuarrie, Robert Elswit, and now this, and you've already revealed is another guy.
It's another guy. I know. We need to get women on the show.
I know. We're trying.
We're
really trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone wants a bootleg of that Kanye West, John Bryan version of the Mission Impossible theme,
that should be part of our Patreon.
Yeah, just send us an email, and maybe we know a guy who can send that bootleg on over to you, because it's not available anywhere. And so it's John Bryan who worked on that with Kanye. John Bryan is a composer who did some of our favorite movies.
Yeah, and worked with Fiona Apple. And
he's a producer for Fiona Apple and Rufus Wainwright, and he scored Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Punch Drunk Love, Synecdoche, New York, Step Brothers. I mean, he's an amazing
You think
composer.
People are still listening to this podcast?
Okay. I don't know. Hopefully. but yes, if you want that bootleg, hit us up. All right, well, I guess that's it for this week. So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. And before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod and email us questions or comments at lightthefusepodcasts@gmail.com. If you'd like to watch the original Mission Impossible television show, all 7 seasons are currently available to stream on Amazon Prime. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.